After giving safeguards against falling away from Christ, James talks about restoring a fellow Christian who has fallen away. This is Looking Intently, and I'm just about done with the book of James, so there's a lot of prior videos. If you missed any of them, you can click this tag and it'll take you to the whole list. To make sure you don't miss any more of this series or what's following, click the subscribe button and then that bell icon that comes up after it. And as always, if you like this video, let YouTube know. Click the thumbs up, leave a comment, share it on a social media site, and that tells YouTube, hey, someone does like it. I should push it out to others. So that's a huge help. Well, James' last words of his entire letter are, "My brothers, if anyone among you wanders from the truth and someone brings him back, let him know that whoever brings back a sinner from his wandering will save his soul from death and will cover a multitude of sins." Well, just prior to this, James had warned about falling away. He talked about someone who is sick and their focus needs to be on not just their physical healing, but on remaining committed to God, their faith. And really, the entire book, in a sense, it definitely started off this way when he said, "Consider it pure joy when you face trials." Well, without saying it, that's as opposed to the opposite of don't become embittered by them. About the situation toward God and let that erode your relationship with Him, ultimately wander away. So he's been warning about it all through, but he knows not only is it a possibility, he knows at times people are going to wander away. Christians are going to wander away, but he makes it very clear they can be restored. That's why he says, and someone brings him back. It can happen. It should happen. Well, as I read this passage, I had a couple of observations and one big question. The first observation, notice he says wonders from the truth. He could have said wonders from God, wonders from Christ, but he said wonders from the truth. I hear all the time, I saw it just recently on a Facebook post, downplaying the importance of doctrine. This person says, I'm all about Jesus, not about doctrine. No. Tell me anything you know about Jesus. The Son of God died for sins. Guess what? That's all doctrine. That's all teaching the Bible. That's the truth of the Bible. You can't separate them. And that's why James doesn't. To wander from the truth about God and about Christ is to wander from God and Christ. So doctrine's important. And then second, just to make clear, he says, cover a multitude of sins. If someone restores that person, you will cover those sins. It's not the person who is doing the restoring. Not like I help someone come back and it covers my sins. Well, my sins are already covered and they remain that way for as long as I remain a Christian. You're covering the multitude of that person's sins. If they've wandered from God, they've wandered away from God's grace. Those sins are now covered again, and that's what he's talking about. Well, there was one big question also. Did you notice it? James talks about restoring a person who's wandered. He doesn't say how. Doesn't say how to do it at all. And I guess the implication should be obvious. We should know how to do it. And I definitely had, one thing that came to my mind, and then I thought about it a little more. And so, I think that the main way to do it is to speak the truth in love. I've got to continue to love that person. They wander away. I don't stop loving them or showing that love to them, but I also make sure I continue to speak the truth. Downplaying something, saying, oh, it's not that bad. No, that's not helping them. If they've wandered from the truth, they have. It's a fact. That's what James is talking about. I've got to make that clear, but also make my love clear. That's what's going to have an impact on them. Now, I also thought about another situation that's similar, but Paul describes it in 1 Corinthians 5:1. It's a little different. And that's an example of a Christian who's wandered from the truth, but refuses to admit they have. Continues to want to be a part of the body as if nothing's wrong. In that case, there's a man who was having an affair with his stepmother. Paul says, even the Gentiles know that's wrong. Well, if a person wanders from the truth, but they still want to say, no, I'm committed to God, we need to let them know that's not the case. Again, we're not saved by works, but we have to be committed to God. Not perfectly committed, but totally committed. I can't have some area and say, yeah, not in that area, that one doesn't count. And so Paul tells the church in Corinth to remove that person from your fellowship. Not to punish the person, but so he's not eternally punished, to help him see how serious this is. And it seems like in 2 Corinthians that the person did come back. And so that's how we're to handle that. Speak the truth in love, but in that other situation of someone wanting to remain in the fellowship and think there's nothing wrong, Paul gives the details about that. Either way, we need to be looking toward the eternal welfare of people who have made a commitment to Christ. Certainly witness to others, but people who have made that commitment. And when we talk about unity, it's not just, we don't fight, so we have unity. It's truly caring for each other. It's truly showing that concern. So think about it. Do I know someone in this type of situation? And if so, how much concern have I shown? These are eternal stakes. What have I done? What can I do? And then more importantly, what will I do to help restore that person? These are the kinds of things you see when you read the good book like a good book.